Business leaders and intellectual business community, we enjoy our discussion with Pak Juwono and Pak Darmono, and we keep exploring this idea about the public-private partnership and how this partnership can be beneficial for business people as well for the government. And we ended the first segment with the questions to the business people represented by Pak Darmono as one of them. Pak Darmono is not a former representative of business people, but he's one of businessmen who has a lot of exposures, and he represents himself and about this view. Pak Darmono, do you see that for business, as you experience, that the regulations which necessary for you as a businessman to do business becoming more complex and less understandable, that makes your business become, in doubt and cannot run faster?
Well, you know that there has been many new regulations coming from from this government in the last 5 years, and also the previous government. But the implementation on site actually takes a long time, and a lot of problems which we have encountered is in the area of infrastructure development. And for us in the industrial sector, infrastructure is something which is so vital for us to be able to deliver the goods on time. They make the costs lower, but this is not happening.
All right.
You know how many summits we have in infrastructures.
I see.
And it has gone so slow. There are many regulations, and there are regulations which overlap with the previous regulation.
I see.
And for us, we need to talk about it. And if we talk, we need to talk to the government, and then sometimes we also have to talk to the local government, and then we have to talk to the other institute to explain why we are doing it, or why we need this one. A lot of sectors in the infrastructures are actually organized or managed by the state enterprises. And this has also not gone on very satisfactorily. And because of the changes, everybody is learning the way. So the private sector and the state-owned enterprises must also become closer. They also have to talk together. We can actually categorize the state-owned enterprises as government, because it's controlled by government anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is the vehicle of government from previously what we call the centralized economic system, where we are not in the area where we have a totally the market forces, which is not totally private. So we are still in between.
All right.
When we are in between of the two systems, which is completely, one is centralized, the other is free market, and we are in the middle, then we have to talk more.
All right.
Between these two forces, and also between the with the academics or with the media.
We have questions from the audience, please. Jan, you have a question?
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Listening to you, it seems that you're talking about government to the one side and private enterprise on another side. But there is quite a large segment of state-owned enterprises or government-linked companies here in Indonesia. Could they not form a bridge between the two sides, so that ideas and regulations flow through them as a benefit to both sides?
All right.
Thank you.
Good question. So, if I may rephrase the questions, do you think that the state-owned enterprise experiencing the problem like the private business, or actually because they are part of them are government, they have not experienced that because they are actually, what do we call it, the children of the government. So actually, or in fact, even the state-owned enterprise also having the same problems like the private companies.
They have much less problems in terms of communicating with the government.
I see.
Because they have the Ministry of BUMN, State Enterprises, and they also have the technical department to talk to. So for them to communicate with government is much easier than the private sector. And the other, the benefits from the private sector, on the other hand, is of course they have more freedom. They don't have to report to
the Ministry of
State-owned prices, and also the technical department. But we talk about new regulation. When we talk about how to communicate with the government, of course the private sector is in a much less advantageous situation.
I see. So the SOE is having less problem about this, but we see that more and more business on the private side, and then even the state-owned enterprise are privatized now, right? So more and more emphasis should be on the private companies also, and these private companies becoming, more difficult to digest the new regulations, which actually meant to be adjusting to the new situation of the business world, like Pak Juwono said, right? Pak Juwono, how do you see the interest of this government from top to the bureaucrats to this kind of partnership? I mean, as you know, in Indonesia there is a common notion that if we can make it difficult, why make it simple?
I think in the very word state enterprise, you see the ideology of the 60s and 70s, where governments in developed world want to command the commanding heights of the economy, should be in the hands of the state, because the collective notion of the state provides delivery to the vast proportion of the people. But an enterprise is not a country, and a country is not a business. A business has a very clear sectoral enterprise. It has clear micro targets of profit making in that particular sector, telecommunications, any sector of the economy. But the government is a macro enterprise. It's an intersectional enterprise. So if you are a good businessman in a certain sector of the economy, it doesn't guarantee you become a good minister in government. Conversely, if you are a minister, it doesn't guarantee that you can be successful in a certain sectoral business. So there's a contradiction here. State and enterprise tries to do two different things. One is micro-sectoral, one is macro, national. And in my experience, in observing the Suharto government, the reform process, you see this conflict. We have now 125 state enterprises, and only 6 of them are actually profit-making, including Garuda, Telkom, some of the state banks, but the rest are in financial limbo. Because these enterprises, as corporate state enterprises, are not profit-making.
Now, what I meant was that whether the government is interested in the public-private partnership idea. I mean, of course, when they state their statements, we will be very happy to do this. But in fact, you think that because of their interest in macroeconomy, because of their interest in, of course, as government, political interest, do you think that they really put attention and efforts to build this partnership?
Well, over the years, I think you can see from the Suharto period on, in fact, there is a seamless web between some corporate groups and some elements in government that are working close together, particularly conglomerates in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in the Philippines. There is this symbiotic relationship between corporate groups and some government groups associated with the leader, with the president or prime minister. And this is part of the patron-client relationship, which is de facto happening even now in all governments across the world. And you can see that the separation of state and private sector is actually a formality. In fact, there is some very close relationship between several groups favored by government and several people in government favored by people in business.
But then it leaves the questions whether these several groups of businessmen represents the whole business groups, and whether these several people in the government represents the whole government.
That's right.
But let's keep this answer for the next segment, because we have again to have a little break. See you for the next segment.